I was working on my image back then, really, if you can say it like that. I wasn't following any entrepreneurs of any sorts because I actually didn't know kind of like what entrepreneurship was back then. But only 1 year after, I kind of dove into some of the, you can say, the Danish entrepreneurs, the local entrepreneurs here in Denmark. We have one guy here who is called Martin Torbo, who sold a search engine to Yahoo back in the early internet days for a lot of money. And he was kind of the one who inspired me to kickstart my entrepreneurial journey.
Today, we get to speak with Nicki Friis. He's a software growth strategist and turned SaaS marketplace, social, and subscription companies into growth machines that acquire, retain, and earn more. He's been part of starting 3 SaaS companies and founded Nicki and ICQI because he wanted to do nothing but grow businesses in multiple industries and markets. Now, I met him through an amazing platform that helps connect podcasters with guests, Matchmaker.fm. Nicki helps ambitious digital companies like yours and mine build growth strategies that acquire, retain, and monetize more customers. He's been working with platforms, scale, and startups. So if your business model looks anything like Facebook Dropbox, this is the man to speak with. It could be even Tesla, Tinder, or Peloton. Nicki knows what's going on under the covers and how to acquire and retain more customers. So let's learn a little bit more about Nicki in this episode. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. We want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. Nicki, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Please let me know if I pronounced your name correctly.
No, it's completely correct. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. This is exciting. So we met through, I believe, Matchmaker.fm, and it's been a pretty powerful site that's connected me to a ton of awesome guests coming from so many walks of life. And you've done some TEDx talks, which is really awesome, out in Copenhagen. So Nicki, thank you so much again for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself so my audience can get to know you and learn a little about you.
Thank you so much. So first off, I mean, the TEDx talk is actually, you can say, a little hack of mine because I actually didn't do the talk. I just took a picture. one of my friends were on stage speaking, and I basically just jumped on the stage and asked him if he wanted to take a picture of me, and he was fine with that. So,
hey, big dreams,
so that's
right?
a little hack. Exactly. If you can dream it, you can do it, right? Mm-hmm. So, but the question was a little bit about me, maybe.
Yeah,
Kind of give
so
your
a little bit
listeners a
about
little
you.
bit.
Yeah, where are you coming from, and what got you started?
Yeah, thank you. So again, my name is Nicki Friis. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark. As you may know, Copenhagen is a small city based out of Denmark, but the capital. I'm born and raised here with my 2 parents who got divorced later in life. But otherwise than that, I started my first business when I was 16 years old. Wow. It was not a SaaS company or something super cool. But in 2015, I was a part of starting a company called IdeaNode, which I still own a little bit of shares into. And in 2017, I started another company called petrenewal.com, which I still own a majority of. Mm-hmm. And today I run my own growth advisory firm, as I call it.
Yeah. Nice. So you started a company at a very young age. What inspired you to start a company at such a young age? Who were you watching? Who was inspiring you? Or were you, um, what entrepreneurs were you hanging out with? Outside the young age, most people that I know, they're either playing sports or other into esports. But you went the different route of being your own being your own business owner?
Yeah. So I mean, actually, so when you are a 16-year-old guy in living in Copenhagen, Denmark, and we are the nation known for being one of the nations that drinks the most. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, naturally, I transitioned it into kind of starting as only 13-year-old. I was promoting parties to 14-year-old people because I wasn't even old enough to get in myself. And I mean, then over the years, I continued, you can say, promoting parties and kind of hosting my own parties. And then when I turned 16, or when I was 16 and a half or something like that, I basically started a small company to help promote other people's parties because I was gotten quite good at it. So I mean, what motivated me back then was probably status within my society, within my community, my friends, having fun while partying, of course, getting in for
Mm-hmm.
free, and I don't know, talking to cool people, nice girls, and kind of get all of these, you can say, this image. I mean, I was working on my image back then, really, if you can say it like that. I wasn't following any entrepreneurs of any sorts
Mm-hmm.
because I actually didn't know kind of like what entrepreneurship was back then. But only 1 year after, I kind of dove into some of the, you can say, the Danish entrepreneurs, the local entrepreneurs here in Denmark. We have one guy here who is called Martin Torbo,
Mm-hmm.
who sold a search engine to Yahoo back in the early internet days for a lot of money. And he was kind of the one who inspired me to kickstart my entrepreneurial journey. Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. So you got into it for promoting parties because you can get into parties. There's another gentleman who actually followed a similar path. If I can only remember his name, but he started the water.org. Either water.org or where they're basically working on fresh water for people all
Hmm.
around the world. So he started out as a promoter of parties and events and whatnot, and he was really good at it, right? And then he was like, all right, I need to stop this and get into some way that I can really use this. And he started helping charities. So,
Yeah.
he
Uh,
then finally launched this charity which promoted water
yeah.
or
I
fresh
mean,
water.
yeah. I
Sorry?
mean, one of the things that promoters are good at, of course, is promoting stuff and getting people to kind of become aware of,
Yeah.
you could say, the course. So I think it's a natural step actually for a gentleman like him to kind of use his promoting skills, qualities, competences to go
Yeah.
into a greater course. It was kind of like the same situation that I found myself in
Mm-hmm.
when I was around 18 years old. I was already getting tired of partying because I've partied since I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
Back then, without my parents knowing, of course. So I mean, I also dove into e-commerce businesses and building an agency back then because I mean, I didn't want to be one of these old guys
Mm-hmm.
who owns a club, have a lot of ladies, and really just being in it for status and fame. There's much more to life than
Yeah.
just that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was Scott Harrison, who I mentioned earlier. He jumped on a mercy ships in Liberia, West Africa, where he learned the life-threatening effects of contaminated water.
Wow.
Because he was a photographer and he'd been promoting. So 2004, he's like, all right. So everybody's looking at his resume, like, well, you've been the party promoter. What are you what are you gonna do with charities? It's like, well, I
Yeah.
can promote the shit out of your charity. So it's an amazing story where they did a really amazing campaigns a few years ago where they would show this video and people would have to walk so many miles to get fresh water.
Mhm.
And when people would show up at the restaurant and they would be like, oh, we don't have water today, and people were like, what, you don't have water, are you crazy? Like, yeah, we
Uh,
just don't have water today. So raising awareness of fresh water, how easily available it is for all of us, right? And we
yeah.
we have that luxury, and then there's so much contaminated water all over the world. and all it takes is the correct type of filtration, or just getting it cleaned up, because water is the source, is the life force. So it's really cool that you're applying the same methodology, the same ideology behind promotion, into bringing people to what you're doing now. So what are you doing now? And I don't know, my questions are like all over the place right now, but I'm trying to get to the idea. So tell us a little bit about Idea Note. So that's the first company you launched about what, you said 5 years ago, or 10 years
Yeah,
ago. So tell
5 years
us
ago.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did the company do, or does it do?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not really a part of the daily operations today, but when we were starting the company back then, we started because we were basically tired. I mean, when you are 20 years old and even younger than that, you probably have a job at a supermarket or maybe at a
Mm-hmm.
mall or a store or something like that, and that was the same experience that we had.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other co-founders, he worked at a gas station. I worked in Sportmaster, which is a sporting retailer here in Copenhagen. They have
Mm-hmm.
100 stores or something like that, just as a clerk or salesman on the floor. And I mean, I was tired of having so many ideas because I'm an entrepreneurial type. I have ideas all the time, every day, all
Mm-hmm.
day. And I basically tried to, you can say, get all of my ideas through to the right people who could actually take decisions on them and implement them, because some of the ideas, in my opinion, still was quite good. And I struggled, you can say, having a say within such a large organization and actually being able to influence the right people who could take decisions. So what we started out with was basically just an app, a note-taking app. So basically, our idea back then was that all employees within a company, let's say Sportmaster in this case, so a sporting retailer, imagine something like Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
So all the salespeople on the floor would basically have this app, and whenever they encountered some idea, they could write it down. And then you can say the executive team, or you can say the headquarter, could basically access this list of all the ideas, and they could do something with it. That was kind of like our idea at the beginning. But what we then faced was that, so when you give someone a huge list of ideas, you don't know what to do with them really,
Yeah.
because it's just it's like when you look at your notes, maybe if you don't have a very structured notes, you're just seeing a lot of different ideas online, and you don't know how to sort them, you don't know how to prioritize them, you don't know kind of like what categories should they fit into and all of these other things. So what we basically did was that we pivoted into a, you can say, a platform, a digital platform that you use on your browser instead of using on your phone.
Hmm.
And what we then added was, you can say, we added sorting functionality,
Okay.
voting functionality,
Hmm.
clustering functionality, and a couple of more other features.
To
So
help with
basically,
ideas.
yeah. So basically, when the executive team would have to look at this big pile of ideas, it would make them easy. It would make it easy for them to just categorize them, sort them, and evaluate them. That was kind of like the second step. Then the other step was that we started asking questions as kind of like initiating this brainstorming, because all the great ideas in the world is most often based upon a great question.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you had to add an idea, you had to answer a question basically. So imagine that in Sportmaster here or Walmart, it would be something like, how might we improve our customer service team, or how might we improve our customer success or customer relations, or the customer experience. And then basically everybody who had access to the platform would brainstorm around that specific challenge or the specific question in this case. So basically making the ideas that they generated a lot more specific and tangible.
Wow, that's really cool. And the ability to cluster and the ability to organize the ideas into, hey, 10 people like this idea or coming up with similar ideas. And in the space of software development, we do something very similar, right? We figure out, okay, this is everybody will, especially in retrospective, after a sprint, you will go and talk about, okay, this is what I was thinking that we could do better. And then you'll see how many other people in the team also came up with that same idea. And then you're able to stack it together and see the number of votes and whatnot. So that's really cool. And to be able to collect data from the public that's visiting the store, I think it's really powerful because these are the people we are trying to, you know, create a safe shopping environment so we can bring the products that they're most interested in and purchasing because they're spending the money.
Yeah,
Oh, they're putting
I agree.
they're putting money in our pockets. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So that was basically how, I mean, it started, and today they are used by 20,000 plus companies like Disney, General Electric, BCG, a lot of well-known brands that you probably know.
That's pretty
Um,
awesome.
yeah, but again, today I just I own a Lotto coupon right now, so a very tiny bit of share
Yeah.
that I hope someday
So
will
so
be something amazing. Yeah.
absolutely, man. Yeah, 20,000 companies using a something like this. It's just awesome. You have a share in the company that you started. So what are you doing now, and what keeps you motivated in going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, the reason for why I'm not a traditional founder anymore running a SaaS company, it's not because any of the companies have gone bankrupt or anything like that. But what I found out over the years is that I started kind of trying to fit into a operational role, being the chief operating officer or at least the one in charge of operations. And I did that because I felt like that was the most important role that I could possibly take on the team, even though my natural talents are within, you can say, marketing and growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in Idea Note, I had that role. I was basically the COO, and I tried to kind of ensure that all our deliveries and you can say the platform was running smoothly and customer success, and that people were basically happy with using our product and our operations was
Yeah.
lean. And when we started Patent Renewal, the other company, I basically knew that I had to step into this operational role at first, but then slowly transitioning over to a more marketing role. And that was also my plan because I knew that I wanted to kind of focus on my natural talents and what I felt was most interesting. And what is really motivating me is kind of working in the field of growth, where I basically help with retention. I work with customer success, sales,
Mm-hmm.
marketing, and all these other different fields. And the reason for why I jumped out of Pet Renewal was basically because I just wanted to focus on that. So today I'm running my growth advisory firm where I basically just work with companies and help them grow. So nothing else but that. And what is really motivating me here is that I feel like I'm getting better every day. Every time I talk with a new company, I learn something new. I feel like I have the ultimate freedom of having no employees. I can
Mm-hmm.
work from wherever I want, whenever I
Yeah.
want. I worked in Bali for 1 month here back in February. Um, both Idea Note and Pet Renewal, we had 20 plus employees, and in my opinion, it became, or how I ran, you can say, the company was that instead of me being practical or hands on, which I
Mm-hmm.
like and love, I started becoming, you can say, a leader or manager, and I started to kind of having a lot of meetings and kind of overseeing stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want that. So, I mean, that's the transitioning that I've been through. And just want to say one thing because the other guy, Scott, that you mentioned before, he was doing all these good
Scott
things in the
Harrison.
world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm basically just working on growing companies. And And what I'm doing right now is that every month I take one NGO in.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically do some free work, pro bono work.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I have a workshop with a London-based company called I can't even pronounce their name because I don't know what it means in English. But they basically help you can say homeless people, veterans, and like kind of people in that area of life with giving them food and providing them with health. So tomorrow I'm doing that. So I just want to say that I'm also trying to do something good and not just growing
No,
businesses
absolutely,
and earning a lot of
absolutely.
money.
No, so here's the cool part about having money, right? You're able to support others who are less fortunate. You're able to bring your expertise and your money to help others. So
Yeah.
if you figure out a way to how to make a ton of money, you're able to help others. You're able to help organizations who are looking for money to help, because there's a ton of people, tons of organizations that need money to help support, especially with now COVID-19. There's a ton of people that are without a job. They're unemployed. They can't provide food for themselves, right? Pretty soon, the money that the government is putting out here in the US, it's going to run out, and they are working on next versions of how that where that stimulus money is going to come from. So yeah, if you can teach somebody how to do that, that's, you got to learn, you got to know it yourself, you got to walk the path to be able to teach that. So
Mhm.
that's really, really awesome that you have that capacity to learn and then share as well. So that's awesome, man. Thank you.
That's what I try.
So right now you're running a company called Nikki, and you're helping strategize. You're helping do strategies for others. And I think what's really cool about that is, so what I see is that you love advising and coming up with solutions for different companies and different people, which shows the critical thinking that you have. Because it's easy, I mean, it's not easy to run a company or do the operations. Eventually it gets old. Eventually you get bored. So it shows your capacity, and it also shows that you're growing as a human being. And
Mhm.
I think growth is super important in no matter which way um, you know you see. Recently we set up a couple of vegetable gardens, and I had no idea where these plants, what these plants required, because when you buy them, they're so tiny.
Mhm.
But as you give them the water and the sunshine and everything, you start seeing their growth and where they're heading. Some plants, for example, squashes, they love expanding and taking all over the place with these huge leaves. And then you have plants like tomatoes and eggplants, which just have a few leaves and they just like to grow in a single direction. So what I notice is that you have to keep these different plants in check. Otherwise, they're going to take over the territory. So it's been pretty interesting to see how to curb the growth of different areas and what you got to do. So I like that as human beings, we also have growth in different areas, and you got to say, okay, which area is going to help me grow the most. So it's
Yeah.
awesome that you see that in yourself and you're able to, you know, go in the direction that's most enjoyable for you, as well as exciting for you.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, and it was a great example with the plants. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I've got a problem with this one tomato plant that has four large branches, and I'm like, which one do I cut? Because each branch has a few tomatoes growing. I'm like, okay, as soon as
Yeah.
these tomato ripen, I'm gonna cut off this branch and let it go tall. Because one guy that I follow, he's like, okay, you want to make sure that you trim those bottom and you keep close eye on it so they only grow in a proper way. Otherwise, you'll have all sorts of branches sticking out, and then you don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
So it was a really great example of what I was missing. And again, no matter what task or what hobby or what job or what new startup that you start, you have to really think hard. Okay, where do I want this to go? So next year we have plans. Okay, we're gonna make sure that we see which plants we're planting and where, and that they don't encroach on each other's areas or property. And then stake them, or plant a better garden so similar plants go together, so then they're not taking over the entire garden.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome experience there. All right,
Yeah.
Nikki, so uh tell me tell us a little bit about okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a different direction. So at this point, let me ask some questions to get some juices flowing.
Yeah.
What is one hobby that you wish you got into?
I really wanted to get into gymnastics for quite a long time, actually, here
Mm-hmm.
in my older years. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because one of the things that I'm scared of the most is kind of doing saltos and, I mean, jumping on my head and doing all these acrobatics. And the reason for why I really wanted to get into that is basically to overcome that fear and to learn a new skill, cool
Mm-hmm.
skill. But what I also found out is that if you're looking for a team, which I was doing only 6 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
almost all of the teams in my neighborhood, at least, and in, you could say, the greater city of Copenhagen here,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to get started, you have to go private class or you have to be a kid. There's no beginners classes um for people who are, I don't know, older than 15 years old, maybe. Yeah.
So you have to be 15 years or older to get in?
No, younger, sorry.
You have to be
15 years
younger
or
than 15?
yeah, to get started on a beginner's class. So
Mm.
you can't really start at a beginner's class, at least not in my area here in Copenhagen.
You have
Then maybe I
to
have to
start
go
with the
to another
private
country.
classes. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean that those are expensive, and yeah, you really don't know what you're getting yourself into, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, gymnastics is one of those things where your body really needs to be very, very limber, right? Be able
yeah,
to be flexible and limber and be able to move quickly. And that's why a lot of people, like, even, uh, we were thinking that we should put our kids in gymnastics when they're younger. And like they would learn much faster and be able to do things. So it's a beautiful activity, or sport for sure. It's amazing.
yeah,
The human body, you could see its full potential with gymnastics.
yeah. So that's what I
Awesome.
really wanted to do, but never got into.
Nice. All right, next one up. What did you want to be when you were a child?
Oh, I wanted to be a professional hockey player.
Hmm.
Or actually, when I was even younger, I wanted to be a monkey. But yeah, I
You
probably
wanted to be a
realized that.
monkey?
Yeah, I wanted to be a monkey. My favorite animal was a monkey, and I wanted to
Okay.
be the spider monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I was able to use my tail as a fifth arm. And I mean, later on in life, I really got into, you can say, not cyber biohacking and
Mm.
body hacking, kind of having NFC chips in my hand and magnets in my hand. And I really wanted to kind of transcend myself and my human brain with the technology. And maybe I will someday. But I guess that's why I wanted to be a monkey. I wanted to be, I don't know,
Well,
flexible and yeah,
that's a really cool topic actually to talk about, because here's the power of the human brain, right? Our human brain is so powerful that we don't even understand its entire capacity. And if you're thinking about biohacking with chips and technology, well, technology is obsolete compared to our human brain, because our human brain, number one, it's an organic, it's organic, meaning it can grow, and that's how we're able to learn new skills, new techniques on a daily basis. In fact, there's 7,000 new brain cells that are born every day, and depending on whatever you're learning, that's what we're going to lean into. So it's not that we are not capable, it's that the technology of our time is not capable enough to communicate with our brains,
Hmm.
right? So there will be a time where technology is far enough that it can, I mean, right now we have ECG and stuff like that that can read our mind language. In fact, I had this mind focus thing that you put on your brain and you can basically control music and control different things just by thinking about it.
Yeah.
Um, so, they have play toys like that, but it's to get it to a point where you can communicate telepathically or communicate from a totally different way. It's something that we haven't come across yet.
No.
Because what the beauty of our mind is I don't even know how to talk anymore. Is that when we dream, it's our mind traveling to a totally different space, right? Because our brain is the physical hardware, but our mind is the spiritual, which can travel in and out of our brain.
Hmm.
So just thinking about that and being able to connect on a different level. I mean, we are quantum beings, we just don't know it yet, right? Human beings are quantum beings because our soul existed before our body existed. So just thinking about that, biohacking is, I would say, we're probably 2 decades away from it, if not more. But the technology's been around a lot longer. I mean, we've heard of Atlantis and what happened with Atlantis and whatnot, right? So even though that's fiction, I'm sure some version of it was true at one time. So I love talking about topics like that. Quantum physics, quantum entanglement,
Hmm.
nanotechnology is really amazing, and how far it's come so far,
Yeah.
come till now, right? It um, 40 years ago is was it 1975? So what 45 years ago is when Eric Drexler wrote the book Nano Unbounding the Future with Nanotechnology.
Hmm.
So he came with the concept of molecular level engineering, right? Um, so just it just fascinates me. I mean, and anything that deals with technology and deals with going above and beyond with what's normal, it just excites me. So thanks for
Yeah.
bringing up that topic, man. That's awesome.
No, me too. Me too. I used to have a blog called Technique. I
Oh,
don't have it
nice.
anymore.
I actually have a blog.
Basically,
Uh huh. Go ahead.
basically writing about exponential technologies. I've been on this 5-day Singularity University program, basically on exponential technologies, and
Mm,
yeah, so I just wanted to write about that, and kind of all these things that you talk about now is something that we went through and something that I've been thinking about for quite a long time now, but I haven't
nice.
really been thinking on it lately. So it's also nice to talk about it again.
Yeah. I actually launched a blog called Techno Junkie. It's still
Hmm.
around. I don't post on it as much as I want to. Again, everything takes time, right? Everything takes
Yeah,
time. All right. So
I agree.
next question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Wow. I don't know. I don't know if I have anything favorite. Um, I mean, let's look at a TV show. And now I'm gonna say something, and almost all men will probably hate me, but I see what my girlfriend wanna see. And when we are not watching series and not doing something together, then I work or read books. I love reading books.
All right, then.
If I were
What would be your favorite book then?
I have a lot of favorite books as well. But one of the books that I often recommend people is
Hmm.
Think and Grow Rich by
Oh,
Napoleon Hill.
beautiful book.
Yeah, and it's all
Beautiful.
about, you can say, having the proper mindset, and kind of
Yeah.
it laid. back in, I don't know, 2013 or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, when I read it for the first time, it kind of laid the foundation for my personal growth and probably also my career growth, and kind of how my mindset in life, and how I was able to think long term rather than short term as
Mm-hmm.
well. Yeah.
No, that book is so powerful and so on point, and it actually goes it 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 ties in and like tangentially connects with um, quantum physics and quantum entanglement. So the title in itself says "Think and Grow Rich," because you're thinking about it. The more you think about it, the more your mind starts making it a reality, right? Because our brain is a CPU of our existence, right? This is what makes it happen. And the more and more you put good stuff in it and concepts in it, it starts opening up and it starts absorbing and sending out signals all over the world that, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Send more of this stuff towards my way. So that was, it's awesome to hear that you had that foundation built, at a earlier age to start growing your mindset. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I mean, it was a life changing book for me. And yeah, and I mean, one book that I've also read two times, and I often don't read two times a book twice. I mean, is actually the book of Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs book, yep.
Um,
It's
and
very
I mean,
powerful.
yeah, I don't know, I don't even know why, but somehow his story just really spoke to me.
Yeah.
And when I read it for the second time was basically when I was doing conscription
Mm-hmm.
in the military. Um, and I read that, it was before Idea Note and before Pet Renewal. And I read that he basically traveled to India, and kind
Mm-hmm.
of when he came home, he had the idea for Apple computer.
Yeah.
So what I did afterwards was, of course, that I went to India and basically tried to figure out what I wanted in life. And I came home and I didn't know. Even though I were there 3 months alone, um, I didn't know anybody out there, but
Mm-hmm.
I had a great trip and I learned a lot about myself and met a lot
Yeah.
of nice people, friendly people.
Yeah, getting that
Yeah,
self awareness is so important, to know who you are. And um, I'm getting my self awareness much later in life, in my 40s. But it all started for me when I listened to Tony Robbins for the very first time. I saw him on this infomercial and I was like, holy smokes, who is this guy? I need to know him. Right. So
why is
I
he so
ordered his.
tall?
He's so tall and he's so like full of dynamic energy. It's beautiful, right? So he's very infectious. He's very enthusiastic, and you immediately want to be his friend, unless you're not of that mindset. So
Yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah.
All right,
I enjoy
so
his events as well.
yeah, his events are. I actually got to visit one of those events, and he's so full of energy. Like it's almost like you're at a concert because you're nonstop consuming this content, and then you're like changing you're standing up, you're sitting down, you're standing up, you're sitting down, you're doing high fives, and it's it's just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I totally agree. Yeah.
I know I had so I have a few questions around movies, and you didn't mention anything about a movie, so we'll switch it up a little bit. Um, if you which book would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Wow. Mm, if I had to play a character in it, I don't know if any non-fiction book is kind of coming to my mind, because
Mostly,
almost
are you reading mostly fiction books or
a
non-fiction
non-fiction.
books?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if I should, what kind of fiction books have I ever read? I don't know. But I've read the book from Paulo Coelho, or
Okay.
I can, maybe I don't pronounce his name, called The
Hmm.
Alchemist. Maybe you know
Alchemist.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've heard of the book. Yes.
it's quite famous as well. It's about
Mhm.
this boy who is basically, you can say, traveling by himself, and he meets all these people who is going to help him. And there's, I can't exactly remember, you can say, the message of the book, but I
Mhm.
remember that it was a good book, and I read it also twice, I guess. And if I should be a character, I would probably be him, because he
Nice.
was curious of life. He learned a lot,
Mhm.
and he was never the expert in the room. He always knew that somebody else was probably, you, I mean, more knowledgeable than him within
Mhm.
a specific area. And kind of this curiosity is something that I really want to bring into my life. I mean,
Yeah.
always being aware that you can learn something, something new from any person, and you can also teach something new to any person,
To
no
any
matter
person.
if it's Tony Robbins or whomever it is. You can
Yeah.
teach him something, and just kind of being aware of that is kind of giving me some confidence that I have something to bring. I mean, I have something to bring to everybody.
No, that's really awesome because being able to put yourself in that space where you can help others, right? That's really powerful, and essentially that's what we're here for in this world. Like, we're here to help each other because we are social beings
Yeah,
after all. All right, so last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
board game. I mean, I've played backgammon my entire life. Um, so it would probably be that. I mean, my dad, he used to take me to, he is playing, he used to play in like this club, something like that, in a Danish league. And he used to take me to backgammon matches sometimes when he was
Mm-hmm.
sitting me back when I was young, and we were
Yeah.
going to these, I mean, these games, and I was getting sodas, and I was fed up with the candy and all of these things. And then I, then he didn't have to do anything. But I mean, actually have a backgammon just here behind me.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I would be that kind of board game. And the reason for that would probably be because you definitely have to be strategic,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also aware that it's also, you can say, parts of, you can say, luck. I don't know if luck is the right word,
Yeah.
but there is some uncertainty in every, you can say, every time you dice.
It's
You don't know what, yeah, what it would be,
very
and
close
life
to
is
life.
like that. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Life is like that, but you can still be strategic about it,
Yeah.
and you can think about, you can say, the statistics of certain, um, what do you say, certain moves from
Mm.
both your opponent, but yourself as well.
It's basically what actions you will take to combat your opponent's move,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like it, man. That's awesome. So Nikki, this was a really awesome conversation. Thanks so much for sharing your story, sharing your passion for strategy and technology and biohacking and your 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 dreams of being a gymnast. I mean, who knows? Maybe you could get into martial arts, right? Something physical, something beautiful, and make that happen. I bid you best of luck in your, current endeavor with Nikki application. The companies that you got going on. Where can my audience find you?
yeah. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest on your show. I'm very honored. It has been fun chatting and fun getting to know you, and you have a lot of good questions that I haven't answered before. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
very happy. I actually been boxing as well. I won a match, one
Nice,
match, and right now I'm dancing to kind of Latin and what is called modern,
nice.
because I want to kind of explore new skills. How people can find me and learn more about me, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to answer any question that you may have. I also have a podcast called Out of Growth, where I interview growth experts.
Nice.
If you are into growth, feel free to jump in there. Otherwise, I mean, comment on this show. I'd be happy to reply to your comments there as well. Otherwise, I hope you got something out of it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You could find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.